Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the Santa Clara City Council meeting. I apologize for our delay. We started at 3:30 and we really tried to be on time, but we weren't. So I do apologize. So if you would now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for our statement of values. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As we gather, we humbly seek blessings upon this meeting. May we act with the strength, courage, and the will to perform our obligations and duties to our people with justice to all. Let us seek wisdom so that we may act in the best interest of our people, our neighbors, and our country. All this we ask so that we may serve our community with fairness and respect, putting their needs before all.
Thank you. Please be seated. City Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Mahan. O'Neill.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Watanabe. Here. Colstead.
Here.
And Mayor Gilmore.
Here.
And Mayor, may I please read the AB 23 announcement?
Yes, please.
That members of the Santa Clara Stadium Authority, Sports and Open Space Authority, and Housing Authority are entitled to receive $30 for each attended meeting, and the Statement of Behavioral Standards. The City of Santa Clara has adopted a code of ethics and values and behavioral standards for public meetings to promote and maintain the highest levels of conduct. This includes mutual respect, robust discussion, and allowing city business to be done in an efficient and consistent manner. Please note that as the presiding officer, the mayor's direction in matters of process and decorum should be followed, and that use of the gavel indicates all conversations must conclude and everyone in attendance should come to order and attention. Welcome, and thank you for your participation.
Thank you, City Clerk. So next we have continuances and exceptions, and I think the first item we have is the appointment to 2 members of the Historical Landmarks Commission. Councilmember O'Neill, we did have 8 applicants for 2 positions, and we just finished our interviews, so all excellent applicants. Councilmember O'Neill.
Yeah, thank you. I want to reiterate that we are grateful for the members of the public who came forward with their willingness to serve our community, and we all continue to be very impressed with the high quality of our residents and their dedication and love for this city. So with that being said, I would like to make a motion to appoint Anna Vargas Smith and Michael Kelso to the Historical and Landmarks Commission.
Second.
So it was excellent choices. They were all excellent applicants. So there's a motion and a second. And is there a way to register our votes? Please bear with us with our new voting system. It's coming.
Mayor, I'm sorry. Well, we have
Okay.
it from some of you and not all of you, so maybe you can take just a verbal vote if you wouldn't mind.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations to our 2 new members of the Historical Landmarks Commission. If they're here, please stand up. I can't see if you're here. There's Michael and Anna. Congratulations. And again, thank you to everyone else who applied. There were some phenomenal applicants. Thank you, and keep working for the city. We love it. Thank you. All right. Next, any other continuances and exceptions, City
Madam
Attorney?
Mayor,
Yes.
I have a report out of closed session.
Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that one. Okay. Yes, report out of closed session.
This is in the Voting Rights Act case, which is entitled Yumori Kaku versus City of Santa Clara. There was a judgment in that case, and in closed session, the City Council approved moving forward with the appeal of that judgment. That was on a unanimous vote, and there were 2 other actions, both on a unanimous vote. The next action that the council took in closed session was to not seek a stay of the order with regard to the November 2018 election. This means that the appeal will not affect the November 2018 election. And then finally, the final action that the council took in closed session, again by unanimous vote, was to seek a calendar preference to get a hearing on the appeal in an attempt to get a decision from the Court of Appeal before the November 2020 election. Those were the actions taken in closed session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. No other report out of closed session. Okay, any continuances and exceptions from the council? From the public?
Yes, good evening, Mayor Gilmore, members of the council. My name is Jim McManus. I'm a lawyer here in Santa Clara County. I am appearing to request a continuance of item 3 on the public hearing agenda. That regards the admonishment or admonition, I've seen it both ways, of council members Kolstad and Mahan. Patty Mahan asked me to advise her on this, and I have not had an opportunity to review everything in detail, but what I do know is that this is a very important proceeding for the city, and I read a very forceful memorandum by Mayor Gilmore and Vice Mayor Watanabe, and I understand that this started out as a request for a censure by Teresa Sulzer, and then there was the previous meeting before you took your summer recess, several motions as the council tried to work its way through what would be the best way to proceed. And finally, this request for a censure tonight is apparently a request for an admonition. Now, this policy, as you know, was adopted by the council on May 15, 2018. And I've read through the summary. Understandably, there are a number of questions which council needs to resolve, legal and other questions. So it's a kind of an uncertain situation, and clearly it's a situation in which Ms. Mahan, and I would imagine the council as a whole, would benefit from some advice, legal advice. Now, Section 908 of your charter imposes on the city attorney the duty to advise the city council and all city officers, which of course includes members of the council, in all matters of law pertaining to this to their office.
Thank you, sir. If you could wrap it up, please.
I will try to wrap it up, Your Honor.
I'm going to go to our city attorney. So.
Okay, well, I want to speak to that because I believe that your city attorney is disqualified from either advising my client or the council as a whole. He is ethically prohibited from doing that. That's why Councilmember Mahan asked me to advise her. That's why I believe the council as a whole needs to get independent advice.
Okay, thank you, sir. So you've requested a continuance. That's your purpose?
That's right, and I'd
there.
like to finish my application if I might.
Your time is up, sir. Thank you very much.
You're saying I can't speak any further?
I'm saying that now. Your time is up.
Well, then
Thank you.
I will just note my objection to that, and
you, sir.
I'll sit down. Thank you.
There is a request now for a continuance on that item. City Attorney, if I could look to you, I think we had some advice on this anyway. I'll go to the council to see if there is a motion for a continuance. We had a lot of time on this. We had over 30 days that we had planned this hearing, and we have members of the public here, so I don't see any reason that we cannot proceed ahead with that later on in the agenda. But is there a motion to continue for, I think it was 30 days, a week? I don't know what the, was it 30 days? Okay, a motion to continue for some time. Vice Mayor Watanabe.
Thank you, Mayor. No, I was actually I had pressed the button to just say that I would like to make a motion that this item be heard and discussed this evening as it appears on the agenda.
We don't need a motion for that. Okay. So if we're going to continue it, is there a motion on the table to continue it? If not, we're going to move on with the agenda. Okay, I don't see a motion to continue, so we're going to move on. So we will move on to our next item, which is special order of business, and I know that's why most of you are here this evening. So the first special order of business we have is the recognition of the Santa Clara Sparks 10U and 12U softball teams. So as a special order this evening, the mayor and council would like to recognize Santa Clara Sparks 10U and 12U softball teams. The Santa Clara Sparks are the Santa Clara Police Activities League, the Pal-Gal Softball League's competitive summer travel teams for 8U, 10U, 12U, and 14U. The Santa Clara Sparks players are recruited from girls who play on the Santa Clara Pal-Gal spring recreational season teams and play competitive softball and compete in weekend tournaments. So I'm going to first talk about the Santa Clara Sparks 10U team. Are they, they're in the house here, I know. If you'd like to come up front so we can actually see you. You come forward here. Simrat, maybe they can come up here and face the audience so everyone can see them while we talk about them. Come on up, ladies. Hey, you want to face out so everyone can see you? Is Coach Todd Kleinheitz here? Okay. So, I know you can't see me now, but this season, that's okay. This season led by Coach Todd, come on up, Coach. Coach Todd Kleinheitz, the Santa Clara Sparks 10U team, placed in the top 8 of 21 teams in their division. The 10U team took silver at the USA NorCal Association Championships and qualified for the California State Games. Association Championships and qualified, for, as I said, for the 2018 California State Games. So we have a proclamation on behalf of the City Council that we would like to present you for your wonderful achievement. And before I do that, if Coach Todd could tell us a little bit about the team, and then I'd like the ladies to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Our team of 13 girls represented the 10U Sparks admirably, going as far as any 10U Northern California team went all year. It was an amazing accomplishment made up of girls from all different schools here in Santa Clara, ages 9 to 11 by the time the season was over. Girls from all different areas of Santa Clara came together and represented the city, the team, the PAL League, and everyone here admirably, and were commended tremendously, and we appreciate the recognition.
All right. Ladies, one by one, how about you go to the microphone and introduce yourselves?
They're so shy.
I doubt they're shy.
Hi, my name's Bella Reyes. Hi, my name is Ellie Kleinheinz.
Hi, my name is Lauren Stone.
My name is Natalie Maddox.
My name is Olivia Diaz.
My name is Melody Bolt. My name is Rebecca Diaz.
My name is Lily Lundell.
My name is MJ Caton.
My name is Mimi Danny.
My name is Addison Romero.
Let's give them a big round of applause. And if the council could join me here for photos.
Addison was on the team.
Okay, we ready? 1, 2, 3. Boom, and let's do another one. 1, 2, 3, and oh heck, one more. All right.
Okay. Thank you. Also with us this evening are the 2018 California State Games Softball 12U champions, the Santa Clara Sparks 12U team. And if you'd love to come forward, ladies, we'd love to see you. Led by Coach is your co-chair, Coach Yi Wo Sa. Is your co-chair? Oh, he's not here? Is someone coming representing the coach? The Santa Clara Sparks 12U team won their division and returned home with the gold. Are you wearing it, ladies? The 12U team also took bronze at the USA NorCal Association Championships and qualified for the California State Games. Congratulations to both teams on their amazing season. So if you're assistant coach, please come forward, and we'd like to come down and give you your proclamation. After, I'd like you to say a few words about the team and have the ladies introduce themselves. Okay.
My name is Matt Brady. Just wanted to introduce these fabulous girls. I just wanted, from the league itself, I wanted to thank the city as well as the Police Athletic League. Without you guys' support, we wouldn't have had this opportunity. We started out with probably over 100 rec leagues throughout California and Nevada and Arizona, and it came down to one last team. So congratulations to these girls, and thank you, city, and thank you, PAL.
Yeah, so get down. Hold it. Olivia, hold it.
All right, ready? And here we go. Big smiles. 1, 2, 3, and I'll take several, as well as our parents here. All right, thank you.
Oh, it's just me.
And on behalf of the 12U team that brought home gold, we've brought one home for you, Mayor.
Do I go? Hi, I'm Kaylee Stone. Hi, I'm Sophia Orozco.
Hi, I'm Sasha Lazo.
Hi, my name is Ania. Hi, I'm Sienna Roper. Hi, I'm Cece DeCourcy. Hi, I'm Kylie Carmine.
Hi, I'm Naomi Jung.
Hi, I'm Tori Farnham.
Hi, I'm Olivia Vasquez.
Hi, I'm Mary Radwan.
Hi, I'm Kira Brady.
Thanks. Assistant Chief Winter?
Yeah, I just want to say on behalf of all the volunteers and everyone involved in our police athletic league program, we are so incredibly proud and just want to thank you for all your efforts and thank you to all the parents and thank you to everyone and the coaches and everyone for all that you've done. You've made us very proud. Thank you.
They made us very proud. Thank you. Okay, now go home and do your homework. Go to bed early. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll wait a minute till they walk out. We're just going to wait a minute till the room clears. That was a big group. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry it took a long time to clear out. That was a lot of people. So our next special order of business we have is a report from the 2018 Izumo, Japan student exchange trip. But before we talk about that and have the representatives from the sister cities talk about that, I'd like to welcome both the Sister Cities Association board members and students. We're very excited to have you here. But we'd also like to introduce the Sister City Association Youth Commission President, Ria Grewal. Ria, are you here? Please come forward. We'd like to recognize, Ria, your recent achievement. I have a medal here for you. No, I'm kidding. But Ria was awarded the Youth Leadership Award at the 2018 Sister Cities International Annual Conference, and she was commended for her leadership and talent that benefits the City of Santa Clara Youth Commission and the Santa Clara Sister Cities Association Youth Commission. In recognition, Ria, we'd like to present you with the Certificate of Special Mayoral Recognition. So if you wouldn't mind coming up here, we'd like the council to come down and present this to you. So if we could give her a big round of applause for this order.
Okay, ready? And 1, 2, 3, and then we'll do a couple more. 1, 2. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Rhea, if you wouldn't mind saying a few words for us.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am honored and thankful to receive this prestigious Youth Leadership Award and the opportunity to be here today. As the president of the Santa Clara Sister Cities Youth Commission, I've been involved in many community activities that has helped me build new connections, become culturally diverse, and has shaped me to the person that I am today. I am thankful for the opportunities that I have had to represent my sister city in Izumo, Japan, and Coimbra, Portugal. As a Santa Clara resident, I bring these experiences back to my community, as I believe diversity strengthens a community. I've launched fundraising efforts with many organizations in Santa Clara. We have adopted a spot where we take the responsibility to keep a street clean in the Santa Clara city. We've also cooked meals at the JW House for families facing medical crises in Silicon Valley. My involvement in Santa Clara Sister Cities has helped me to discover my passion for citizen diplomacy and strengthening my understanding of other cultures. I'm truly grateful for all these wonderful opportunities. I would like to thank everyone here, the Santa Clara Sister Cities Board, President Tidra Nikolai, Raj Shahar, and Patricia Knowles for nominating me for this award and for all their continued support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rhea. So next, I'd like to introduce Tidra Nikolai, the president of the Santa Clara Sister Cities Association, and Tidra will introduce the board members that are here and talk about the trip. Welcome, Tidra.
Hi, thank you for having us. First of all, I wanted to thank all of you, the city, for your continuous support and encouragement of our youth. As you can see, Rhea is a phenomenal student, and all of our youth commissioners are exactly as this. And we are so proud of Rhea. And I also want to thank our board. We all work really hard together, and we have a terrific youth director, Patricia Knowles, who's not here right now, but want to send her a little thank you and appreciate all her time that she spends with the students. Right now, we have the honor of introducing Will Kennedy, as you guys would well know from...
I think we know him. He sounds familiar.
Exactly. He was chosen this year to be our chaperone for the Izumo trip, and he will go ahead and introduce the students that are here today. Thank you, Will.
Welcome home, Will.
Thank you. Thank you, Tidra. I can report that our 4 students who traveled to Izumo represented the city very well, and who better to give that report than the stars of the show. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our 4 students. Elliot Doltz is going to go first, and then Kira O'Hara-Hines, and then Cecilia Perez, and then Sophia Kennedy, and then I'll come back for some very brief comments at the end.
Thank you.
There's some slides.
Welcome.
Okay, hello, I'm Elliot. While I was in Japan, I had 2 amazing experiences, and one of them was Cecilia and I were able to spend time with 2 host families as opposed to 1, and between those 2 families, they were different themselves in Japan, but they were extremely different than at least my American family. One family was very small, while one was very large, but they still spent a lot of time separated and ate meals together, and it was a very quiet household, which is very different than my household. Why did it go back? Okay, another experience I was able to have was I was able to go to the high schools with them for 2 days, which was, to me, the most exciting part of my experience. The schools are very different in Japan than they are in America. For instance, the kids don't go to different classes. The teachers are the ones that move. They have to take their shoes off when they go to school, and they wear special school slippers. And at the end of the day, they clean up their classroom, which are all different things than in America. So overall, those 2 different experiences gave me a lot of insight on the culture in Japan.
Hi, I'm Kira, and when I went to Japan, my host family was generous enough to bring me to Hiroshima over the weekend, which was a 3-hour drive there and a 3-hour drive back, but it felt a lot shorter because I slept. But I saw all these amazing sights that I saw in history class, and I saw like thousands of paper cranes which are a lot smaller than I expected. And we went to Miyajima, which is Island of the Gods, where we saw like very old Shinto shrines. My host student went to Izumo School of Agriculture and Forestry, which is a lot different than Santa Clara High School, because 3 hours of the school day are devoted to spending time with animals, in addition to classes like animal husbandry. So for me, my job was to watch the animals walk by on the scale and write down how much they weighed. And I saw all these small kids carrying like 500-pound cows. So it's definitely a different experience, but something I'll carry with me for the rest of my life.
For me, some of the more important things, or not more important things, but I think the things that stood out to me the most was how little the diversity was in Izumo. It was amazing for them to see just us as a group, and then it was kind of cool for us to see the little diversity that they did have there was Brazilian Portuguese people, which was really cool for me to see, because growing up in a Portuguese household, we really didn't think about, Portuguese people going to different countries, but there was a large majority there. And I actually got to talk with a man who was fishing in Portuguese because he didn't even know Japanese. So it was kind of cool to be able to interact with someone that even our translators couldn't interact with. And another thing that stood out to me was our experience at the temple that we went to, which I think for all of us was the first time that we ever had gone to a Buddhist temple. And we got to practice some of the Zen meditation that they do, which was enlightening, to say the least. One of the forms they did during the meditation was they hit us lightly with sticks upon our backs as a form of encouragement to, continue our meditation and stay in the zone. And it was something that most of us hadn't experienced before or wouldn't experience other than on this trip. So, yeah.
One of the days we went to the University of Shimane, and we met with students who were part of the International Club, and they taught us how to make takoyaki, which is, as you can see, little balls of batter with octopus inside, and that was new for me, that was one of my favorite Japanese foods. But we also got to try a variety of different foods, both from restaurants and home-cooked meals. I remember one day my host family cooked rice for breakfast and eggs for dinner, which I thought was interesting because I often have eggs for breakfast and rice for dinner. But everything was delicious, and my host family was kind enough to go out and buy food for me if I said I liked it so I could take home. And one of the days we got to try on traditional Japanese kimonos and also wedding gowns, and which are not white but very colorful and bright. And the kimonos were beautiful and elaborate, and we're really grateful for that opportunity.
I would like to ask, I'm going to click through a few of these slides, and then we have a short video, but just briefly, I just wanted to say that Mayor Nagaoka, who we met in Izumo, sends his greetings, as does Mr. Fukushira and Mr. Kawakami from the City Council. They invited us into their chambers, and we saw how they do things there. And one of the special things for me was to see the board, our counterparts in Izumo, and see how hard they're working to foster and keep this relationship going. We had a lot of fun just being around them. It was a treat for me personally to meet them. Mr. Yamamoto, I stayed at his house. Mr. Yamamoto is watching right now. Ohayou gozaimasu. It's morning there.
Hi.
And on the wonders of online council meetings. We met, of course, Mr. Kuwabara, who all of you know very well, and the other members of the board. My homestay with Mr. Yamamoto and his wife, Mariko, and his son, Hiroshi, was fantastic. I'm sure all of you have heard stories or experienced just the incredible level of hospitality and kindness that we see. It's just personally amazing for me. So thanks for the city for supporting this trip, and I'm sure we're all in favor of just keeping it going.
Thank you for being a chaperone, Will, as well, and taking the team here. Sounds like you had a wonderful experience.
It was a privilege.
Represented Santa Clara very well. Thank you so much. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you.
So while we're doing the pictures, I'll just run this video if we can. Is that possible? Yeah. Yeah.
Up here. Is there sound? No? Okay, okay. So if the council could come down and we will,
Please do. All right, big smiles. Here we are. 1, 2, 3, and smile for a little while longer. We got a lot of cameras up here. And one more for good measure. Oops, let's do one more. Thank you.
okay, and thank you very much for that presentation. Oh, the video is still going. It's over. Thank you. All right, our next special order of business is recognition of fire department on achieving international accreditation status awarded by the Commission for Fire Accreditation International. And I see our fire chief, Bill Kelly, is up, ready to go, proud as ever.
You bet.
Yes, chief.
Good evening, Mayor Gilmore, members of the council. Thank you for taking time this evening to recognize the fire department on achieving international accreditation status. Tonight, I have a quick report on the accreditation process and why it's beneficial for our department to be an accredited agency. On August 9th, during the council recess, we were awarded accredited status from the Commission on Fire Accreditation International. The commission consists of 11 members representing a wide variety of stakeholders, including the International City and County Managers Association, insurance organizations, fire service agencies, large and small, across the United States and Canada, code standards organizations, labor, and the Department of Defense. The application process took nearly 2 years to complete. The commission reviewed our extensive application and produced 12 recommendations for improvement, all of which are being addressed, and most recommendations will be completed very soon. The process began in earnest in December of 2016 with the development of a 5-year community-driven strategic plan. We asked members of our community to come together, and 30 members of our city provided their input to the plan. And over the following 2 days, 30 additional members of our fire department participated in the strategic planning process by identifying current organizational strengths and areas for improvement. The next phases were the most labor-intensive, taking about 18 months to complete, and they included the development of a comprehensive risk evaluation and standard of cover document. We analyzed the current risks throughout our city and identified the resources needed to mitigate potential emergencies in our community. We conducted an exhaustive self-assessment of our organization, analyzing our current policies, our practices and procedures, just to make sure that they're relevant and current and legal, and that we do things not because we've always done it that way, but because it's the right way to do things. This required us to document and justify the way we're doing business to ensure that we deliver service in accordance with our mission. We were evaluated in May of this year by a peer review team consisting of fire officials from 4 agencies outside of California. They were meticulous and thorough in their review of our department and issued a report to the commission with recommendations for improvement. And finally, we were interviewed by the full commission a couple of weeks ago about our application and were awarded accredited status. So what are the benefits of accreditation? There's several. It provides an approved procedure for collecting data to analyze our service through performance measurements, and ensures that our future decisions on service delivery are data-driven. And that's probably the biggest benefit of accreditation, is the collection of valid, actionable data. There's an old saying, if you can't measure it, you can't improve it. If you can't measure it, you can't improve it. And we now have a data collection system that produces valid data on every aspect of our response system. And this is vitally important as risk in our community continues to evolve over time. Other benefits, it shows the public and our stakeholders that the fire department's mission and goals meet the needs of the community. Provides a detailed evaluation of our services. Accreditation creates methods for addressing deficiencies while building upon organizational strengths. It identifies potential risks inside of our city and enables the fire department to mitigate potential emergencies with appropriate resources. It fosters regional and national recognition by outside agencies and the public, and it encourages continuous quality improvement. Accreditation is a continuous process. An annual report will be issued February of each year, which will enhance transparency and accountability and allow us to be more responsive in our community. This accreditation from this commission is valid for 5 years, and we're going to continue to accredit for the next time in 5 years from now. Supporting documents, including our 5-year strategic plan and our community risk assessment and standards of cover document, are located on the city's fire department webpage at fire.santaclaraca.gov, or you can visit Station 1 and I'll show you a printed copy anytime. I'm joined tonight by a team I'm so proud of tonight for their contributions. My Deputy Chief J.D. Madden, who assembled the team of 67 firefighter volunteers for this project. Acting Battalion Chief Jeremy Ray is here.
Chief Madden, if you wouldn't mind standing up so people can see who you are. Thank you.
Yeah. Assistant Training Officer Nick Rustani, he's our big data analyst. Nick was here. Thank you. Acting Battalion Chief Jeremy Ray is here. And 6 responders that are indicative of the kind of firefighters who are helping with this process. We have Acting Captain Trevor Cantano, Driver Engineer Gail Carter, Driver Engineer Aaron Gandy, Acting Captain Dominic Rustani, Driver Engineer Phil Kleinheinz, and Firefighter Nathan Ford. Please stand. It's a proud day for the fire department, and this accreditation process puts us on a good track for continuous improvement.
So thank you. So in recognition of this incredible achievement and the accredited status and this amazing accomplishment, the City Council would like to present you and your team with the proclamation to the Santa Clara Fire Department on this wonderful achievement that we're so proud of. So if you wouldn't mind joining us up here, we'd like to present this to you.
Oh, everyone's faces. All right. 1, 2, 3. Let me take another 1. There we go. Thank you very much.
It's because of the fire department that we have all that cake over there. So anyone in the audience, please help yourself and thank the fire department for the cake. Okay, our next order of business is the consent calendar. All items are approved with one motion unless there is a request to remove any items from the consent calendar. Do we have any requests for any items to be removed from the consent calendar for discussion? I'm going to abstain on item 2W, which is 575 Benton Street. So I want to put that in the record. And is there a motion for noting that abstention? Motion and a second. Is there any member of the public wanting to pull an item from the consent calendar? So seeing none, there's a motion and a second. Please register your vote. And it passes 6-0. Thank you. Our next item is public presentations. City Clerk, do we have any cards? One from Howard Myers. Howard, please come forward under public presentation. Good evening.
Handouts.
Maybe you can wait until we get these before you start. Thanks. Okay, Mr. Meyer.
Hey, we started too soon. Madam Mayor, Council, staff, we've been hearing a lot of rumors about the massive neighborhood support for the latest Mariani project. We all like a good rumor, don't we? Okay, but it is better than the last projects that we've seen in the last 4.5 years. But it's still a work in progress. I'm gonna give you a real quick rundown on the Mariani project. Oh, the top one, didn't it? Oh, we got to hold it down. Oh, this is, got a windy truck. All right, the project got like 311 hotel rooms, 36 seniors, 235 apartments, and 20 townhomes with 3 and 4 bedrooms. The layout, there's going to be there's going to be 2 6-story hotel buildings as they propose. One will be along the creek here, and the other will be along El Camino here. The senior apartments will be down this way. Across Buchanan, you'll have the 232 apartments here and the 20 condos. Okay, and this is the frontage. This is the end of the 6-story units, hotel unit on the creek, and this is your typical 6-story hotel frontage on El Camino. It kind of reminds me of that phrase, El Camino Canyon. I'm part of the group that is the neighbors, Santa Clara for Smart Growth, and we have been keeping the community apprised of what's happening. We sent out a survey with a lot of detail on the project and asked them how well could they support this project? How much support would they give the project as it stands right now? And you can see that the support is kind of underwhelming. It's all on the low end there. And this is as it is now. The question is, what would you like to see happen? What kind of improvements would you like? Okay, their objections were the parking, traffic, the high skyline, and more strangers in the neighborhood. Now that comes from the fact that all this housing is going to almost double the population in the neighborhood. So I can see where somebody would be concerned about that. But how would they like to fix it? Okay, what they like to do is see the increased parking, traffic calming measures, reduce the skyline, and to reduce the residences. Now, the reduce the residences, part of that is having to do with the number of strangers and new people in the neighborhood, and part will be addressed with the parking and traffic measures, so if that happened. The question is, if they did that, how much support would you have for this? This is a survey out to the neighbors, asking them, well, how much support would you give this project if the developer did these things? and did some things in working with you. And you can see that that changed quite a bit in the level of support. Now, we've been working with Mariani. We've talked to him a number of times. We're working with him right now to set up a meeting next week to spend some more time going back and forth. The thing is that looking at the before and after concerns is pretty drastic, and it's pretty important that we work with them. The neighborhood is very engaged. We're very concerned about it, and again, we're actively working with them, trying to make things better. So this is a good start. That's better than the non-starters that we've seen in the past. So, but it's a work in process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Howard. Any other member of the public wanting to speak? Please come forward. Seeing none. All right, our next order of business is consent items pulled for discussion, and we don't have any consent items pulled for discussion. Okay, so next we have action on admonition of council members Kolstad and Mahan. I know that our city attorney has recused himself from this item, and our city staff is not presenting any report on this item. Vice Mayor Watanabe and I submitted a memorandum to the City Council on this issue. So we provided the memo to serve as discussion and recommendation for the admonition of Council Members Pat Kolstad and Patricia Mahan. We think it's helpful to understand, the public understand the facts, the history, and the reason that our community felt strongly that admonition and censure policy should be applied because of the actions of these two council members. So I'm going to start with Vice Mayor Watanabe to read the facts and the history. And this memo will be on the post-meeting material online, right, City Clerk? So the public will have a chance to take a look at it. Vice Mayor?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So the facts and history of the issue that's before us. On May 15, 2018, our council adopted an admonition and censure policy. We were compelled to do so because of the terrible accusations against former council member Dominic Caserta. It was only then that we discovered the Santa Clara City Council had no official ability to disapprove of the conduct of a mayor or council member. Mr. Caserta resigned before we could consider any action. With his council seat open, we quickly moved to fill his vacant seat following the requirements of our city charter. After extensive community outreach, over 24 individuals applied to fill the vacant council seat. On June 12, 2018, we interviewed candidates in open session. After approximately 6 hours of statements by candidates, followed up by a question and answer session in which all 6 remaining council members participated, we did not fill the vacancy. Council members Kolstad and Mahan revealed at approximately 1:30 a.m. that they did not wish to appoint anyone to the vacant seat. There were understandable frustrations and anger in the room. It was visibly expressed by council members, the public, and on the faces of the candidates and their family members. One candidate, Dr. Muhammad Nadim, published his feelings in an opinion piece entitled, "My experience as a council candidate for the Caserta vacancy was negative because of Mahan and Kolstad." We've attached his statement to this memorandum. In the following days, we began to hear many complaints in our community about the actions of council members Kolstad and Mahan. On June 17, 2018, Teresa Salser, a community leader and former Charter Review Commissioner, spoke at our council meeting and articulately expressed a desire for the 2 council members to be censured. She then published her statement for our community to read a few days later on santaclaranews.org. It is attached to this memo as well. She later changed her recommendation from censure to admonition. On June 28, 2018, at our council meeting during the open public session, numerous community leaders spoke out about how disappointed they were about the actions of council members Kolstad and Mahan. Among those who spoke were respected former council member Carrie Procuneur McLean. Some residents suggested that censure or admonition would be appropriate. On July 17, 2018, the council decided that given strong community sentiment, it would be appropriate to agendize for discussion and action how council members Kolstad and Mahan actions may be sanctioned under our admonition and censure policy. Again, Our residents spoke out at the meeting about the desire for the community to see the council take some action. One resident, Howard Myers, a Charter Review Commissioner, publicly spoke that evening and later published his strong arguments in santaclaranews.org. They are also attached to this memo.
So both Vice Mayor Watanabe and I are recommending that council members Kolstad and Mahan be officially admonished, not censored, by the City Council under our recently adopted policy for admonition. We believe that the actions on the morning of June 13th, 2018 by council members Kolstad and Mahan were disrespectful to the candidates who wished to serve our city. They disappointed good people who wanted to help our city and their family and friends, many who attended the meeting with the sense of hope and pride that they may be selected. Furthermore, the manner in which council members Kolstad and Mahan decided to express their desire to leave a council seat vacant after fully participating in the process was deceptive and perhaps even dishonest. We are especially concerned about the chilling message council members Kolstad and Mahan have sent to our community. We as a council had an opportunity, perhaps a duty, to appoint a council member from one of many communities who are underrepresented on our council. Of the final 6 candidates, 5 of them were from communities of color. More significantly, all the candidates had excellent qualifications. They all had the potential to be outstanding public servants and community role models as an appointed member of the City Council. To reject all of them, as council members Kolstad and Mahan did, was a major lost opportunity for Santa Clara. In conclusion, we believe it's important for Santa Clara residents to know that our council has standards and policies that reflect the goodness of our community. We support honest and open debate, but should not tolerate deception or dishonesty. We seek participation from all members of our community and should not condone actions that discourage individuals from participating. If our council cannot enforce these standards upon ourselves, we are derelict in our duty as public servants and will send an unfortunate and discouraging message to the residents of Santa Clara. For these reasons, we recommend council members Kolstad and Mahan be officially admonished by the City Council. Councilmember Mahan.
Yes, thank you. First, I want to thank the many Santa Clarans that I've heard from, both in letters, emails, texts, calls, other contacts, that have supported me in this ordeal. This is but a moment in Santa Clara's history. It may prove to be a seminal moment, a watershed moment, or a moment that means little or nothing at all. It is a moment that will play out tonight, to be replayed, discussed, gossiped about, sides taken, lines drawn, but in the end, this too will pass. The accumulation of past moments leads to this present. So the start of this proceeding is a result of many past moments. The moments the council failed to make an appointment to fill the vacant seat on the council, the moment that the city lost the Voter Rights Act litigation, the moment that the majority of council members decided to blame me for both of those outcomes. Let me share my personal journey that led me to this moment. My father, John Mahan, served this city for 11 years on this council. He earned the title of honorable because he was honorable and honest. He taught me how to live a life of service. And after being diagnosed with ALS, he taught me how to face adversity with courage and dignity. I've been happily married to my husband, John, for 35 years. We've raised our son, Colin, putting him through school at the CIA, the chefs, not the spies. And I've seen him blossom in his chosen career as a sous chef in the restaurant voted the best in San Diego. My stepson and his wife are both professional artists running their own private art school. I've enjoyed the successes of my personal life. I practiced law for 38 years without a single blemish on my record. In my political life, I have served this city for 25 years as a commissioner, council member, and elected mayor. And I hope honorably, following the guidance of my dad. In office, it's my duty to act in our city's best interest. I'm not here to promote my own agenda. I'm here to represent you and to make decisions that carry out the will of Santa Clarans. It was clear to me from all the letters, emails, texts, posts, calls, and contacts that Santa Clarans demanded the right to vote to fill the vacant council seat and to vote in an open election, one that would not give undue advantage to a council-appointed incumbent. It has also become clear that the majority of Santa Clarans realize that our election system favors racially polarized voting. No appointment will change or cure that underlying unfairness. Only an open neighborhood election will do that. It's no secret that I'm a survivor of breast cancer. I've had 19 surgeries in 7 years. I live with the specter of recurrence and the side effects of treatment every day. Cancer has been the greatest gift of my life because it has changed my perspective, making me understand what's important in life, giving me courage beyond what I thought was possible, granting me strength to face the toughest times imaginable. You think facing this hearing is difficult? Try facing a surgery that may leave you paralyzed, but it's necessary to remove a tumor in your spine that will kill you. Try facing a PET scan that may reveal a tumor in your organs that will take your life away in maybe 6 months, maybe 2 years if you're lucky. Try facing daily chemotherapy pills that make you sick and remind you every day that at best, it only delays the inevitable. This is the life of 2 million breast cancer survivors in America today, myself among them. We know the meaning of difficult. So when moments come in these chambers to face tough decisions, I am tough enough. I can take the heat. There's nothing that anyone can do to me here tonight that can cause me harm. What may be said or done neither takes away from me nor adds anything to my life that matters. But words spoken here tonight will certainly reveal more about the speakers than about me. Will the words show an understanding of the law, our charter, and our ordinances? Will words be spoken kindly, with compassion, with fairness? Or will words be hateful, hurtful, and destructive? Some speakers may be candidates for office, and I'm sure Santa Clarans will pay attention to their words. I'm sure there are many who wish to cause me disgrace, but it can't be done. In the words of Eleanor Roosevelt, nobody humiliates me without my permission, and nobody here tonight has my permission. What really matters here tonight, what really is at stake, is Santa Clara's future. At this moment, we can take a stand. We can continue down this path of politics of hate, of destruction, and personal vendettas. Or shall our city's future be decided by the people, by fair elections, by elected council members, by listening to our constituents' concerns, by using our time wisely in meetings where issues of substance are discussed and decisions are made based on what the people want? Or do we capitulate, letting the conduct and content of our city governance be dominated by a mere whatever 4 people decide, despite what the people want? John Stuart Mills calls it the tyranny of the majority, when dissenting voices are silenced or ridiculed or disgraced. We live in a society of the rule of law, not personality, or at least we should. I'm not sure that's true in Santa Clara today. What I did was just follow our charter. I followed the law. I did not violate any rule, any regulation, any ordinance, any charter, any law. There shouldn't be two council members seated here tonight facing an attempt to discredit them in some way just for following the law and listening to the voice of the people. It'll be interesting, but hardly integral to me, to find out what the answers are here tonight. I'll be submitting these comments and a response to the mayor and vice mayor's memo to be published along with that memo to ensure that the public record is complete and accurate. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Watanabe.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I would like to make a motion, but before I do so, I'd like to make a statement. And that is that based on what I've just heard and under a statement that I keep hearing over and over again about undue advantage that would have been given to a candidate if we had appointed them. I just want to point out that back in 2016, there is a council member on this dais that took unfair advantage, and frankly, by running for the seat that they currently sit in, this council member Mahan stepped down, saying that she was not going to run again, and there was an open seat, and 3 candidates ran for that seat. And they were new candidates and had never sat on the dais. And after they had put in their paperwork, Councilmember Mahan, after 20 years of serving on this council and also as mayor, ran for the seat and took away the opportunity for 3 brand new candidates, again, running for the first time, one of whom was Indian American, took away the opportunity for them to be elected to an open seat. To me, what she did was unfair. She took advantage of the fact that she had a base, she had name recognition, and took away the opportunity for a new person to be on this council. And to me, by stating that giving somebody the opportunity to be appointed on June 12th would give them undue advantage is nothing more than hypocritical on her part. Because what she did in 2016 was take away the opportunity for the city of Santa Clara to vote for a new person, possibly a person of color, to be on this council. And for that reason alone, to me, is a reason to be admonished. And I would like to make a motion that we recommend Council Members Kolstad and Mahan be officially admonished by the City Council.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and second. Council member, please sit. Council member
Requested to
Kolstad.
speak on this matter.
You'll have your turn. It's not the public's turn yet. Please have a seat.
Represent Mr.
I
Kolstad.
understand that. Please have a seat. You will get
Heard on why you should
Sir,
not be
please
voting.
sit down. You will have your turn. Councilmember Kolstad.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't think it'll come as a surprise to anybody that I won't be supporting the motion to censure me. But, and it's kind of funny to me, I feel like it's double jeopardy because, pardon?
This is an admonishment. It's nothing about censure.
Thank you. Admonishment, not censure. I kind of feel like it's double jeopardy because we got yelled at a few weeks ago when we didn't vote the way that the majority of the council wanted us to vote. It was nevertheless a legal vote. And, but that being aside, I think by doing this, I think you might raise some legal problems. I can't speak to that because I'm not trained, but I clearly won't be supporting it going forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Kolstad. And again, it's admonishment, which is the First Amendment rights for any of us to speak as a body or as individuals. I just want to remind everyone that this isn't about sitting council members up here. It's about what these 2 members in question did to the public that was trying to obtain a seat up on the council. Had they made their decision to not appoint someone earlier in the evening as opposed to grilling these members for 6 hours, it would have been understandable. We would have stopped the hearings. But to wait until the end, and if any of us, and you in the audience, were in the room that evening and could see the faces of these members that were in good faith trying to get appointed and their families at the end of the evening when it was clear that they were not going to appoint anybody, you would understand. It's about the public, it's not about us. So now I have any other council members want to speak before I go to the public? Let's hear from the public then. First I have Grant McCauley, and then Guyton Jinkerson is next. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. I think all of you know me. I'm Grant McCauley. I'm a citizen of Santa Clara, and I disagree with the proceedings because in this city, you are the council that elected and decided that you would have a supermajority of 5 out of the 6 to select that. What happened is that you did, by saying that you wanted a supermajority of 5 out of the 6, you were allowing for a dissenting vote. What happened was you got 2 dissenting votes. It was an open, free, and fair election. The candidates that were here knew that there was a risk that they would not be selected. So they spent their time, they did the effort, but it was not to be. The court has ruled under the violation of the Voting Rights Act that this city is now going to be divided up into 6 districts. So the appointment of a temporary city councilman at that point in time wouldn't have added anything really, because it had only been a couple of months that that person would have been there, other than to give them the advantage of being a name recognition for the upcoming election. Now, there's nobody that can argue that Patricia Mahan and Pat Kolstad haven't done a lot for this city, and a lot of things outside of the council. I am also a cancer survivor. I saw Councilmember Patricia Mahan go through that because we went through the same oncology department at the same time, and I saw that. As far as Pat Kolstad, you all know that I volunteer for the Boy Scouts of America. I was given the task of fixing a district that fell apart with over 4,000 members out of the 15,000 that belonged to the council. It fell apart. They asked me to fix it. The first person I called was Pat Kolstad, and I said, "Can you help me?" And he said yes, before I even told him what the job was going to be. In 2 years, we turned that district around, and it was the #1 district in the council. I will always have respect for Pat Kolstad for helping me, and all the recognition that I got. And behind the scenes, Pat Kolstad was the person who really helped me out. So I think that it was a free and fair election. It was the way that it should have been. I don't see a censure or an admonition of what they've done. I think that what they did was in the right conscience. They're thinking for the greater good of the city, and I disagree with this.
Thank you very much for your comments. Guyton Jinkerson, and then Dorothy Rosa after that.
Madam Mayor, council members, I represent Mr. Kolstad. It seems to me that in June there were 2 choices. One was to appoint to the position or leave it open to vote. And either one was appropriate. It's clear to me that what happened was Mr. Kolstad didn't feel comfortable with the candidates. And whether it took 1 hour or 6 hours, I don't think that's disrespectful or disappointing to people. And also, those are subjective terms. And I don't believe that constitutionally, First Amendment, whatever, that you can admonish someone for doing something that's within their constitutional right as a council member in deciding that he's not comfortable with those people. He didn't give a prepared statement. He voted his conscience. And if we want to speculate and surmise, we can look to the fact that, was this vote over the fact that we're trying to prevent the voters' rights suit going forward? So There's a lot before us on that issue. But Mr. Kolstad, who has served this community 32 years as a peace officer and 8 years on his council, normally would be getting rewards and awards at this point in his life. What were you folks doing in 1979 when he'd been on the police force for 10 years, involved in finding, locating, arresting robbers and murderers? What were you doing in 1989 when he was on the police force doing the same things? He's had a substantial career in this community, and this admonishment is purely a political fabrication. Thank you.
Thank you. Dorothy Rosa and then Mark Kelsey. Good evening.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, before I start, this is not about cancer, and it's not about how long these people have been in the public. That's not what this is about. This is about an empty seat. My name is Dorothy Rosa. You may know I have lived in Santa Clara many years. I love my city. Last time I was here, I talked about the Santa Clara Way. It means we care about our city. It means we care about the residents. And it means we treat people with respect. But recently, 2 council members have not treated the people of our city with respect. Council member Pat Mahan and Pat Kolstad has not served us well. Tonight's vote to admonish them is important. It sends a message, a positive message. It says to the good people of our city that the city council cares about people and that the council is strong enough to police that. If the council does nothing, that would be a negative message. It would say that respect is not important. That would not be the Santa Clara way. I hope you have the strength to do the right thing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Kelsey and then Kathy Kelsey. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I oppose the admonishment resolution tonight. I support the right and duty of every council person to speak and vote independently and to use their best judgment in doing so. And I support the right of Patty Mahan and Pat Kolstad to do that and believe that that is what they were doing and that does not deserve admonishment. I don't think that's an appropriate action. Further, I think that this is divisive for the city. Obviously, this is already a divisive issue, and admonishment only further deepens that divide and ensures that the council is permanently divided, and I do not believe that this serves the best interests of the city of Santa Clara, and I would oppose the admonishment resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy Kelsey and then Howard Myers. Good evening.
I always like going after my husband because he speaks so well. I also do not support this. I do feel that Patty and Pat were within their rights to vote independently. And in fact, when Patty showed the stack of emails saying that she had been asked by several citizens to let this go to a vote, it was one of my emails in that stack. I'm sort of surprised that we're doing this. I think the city council should be spending their time on more important things. I don't see how you can get back together to work as a unified city council. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Howard Myers and then Linda Nepper. Welcome back.
Thanks. I'm still Howard Myers, longtime resident. Excuse me. I agree with Madam Mayor that it isn't about how the vote, how they voted. They have a right to vote any way they want. If they don't want to vote, they have a right to do that too. But I just don't think they have a right to drag people out till the middle of the night, wee hours of the morning, and then not vote. I mean, it's just, I just don't think that's right. It's disrespectful. And this has nothing to do with personal stories or anything that happens outside these rooms. It has to do with our behavior in these rooms. And I'm one that likes well-written speech and a well-delivered speech, and I have to commend Councilperson Mahan. That was a powerful and well-written speech. I don't think it has anything to do with what happened, because what happened is you didn't vote. You didn't say early on that we're just not going to vote because we don't think that we should be replacing the person in this fashion. And that would not have been a problem. One thing about it, though, is that after all this redistricting, I find myself in Councilperson Mahan's district. So now she represents me. I would like to say now this isn't how I want to be represented. You know, we'll be together for a while, and I would rather be represented in what I would consider a more ethical fashion. So that would be my opinion, and everybody's entitled to that. My opinion, that is. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Linda and then Noreen G. Good evening.
Hello, my name is Linda, and what I want to say is please don't use breast cancer as a weapon on somebody. I have had ovarian cancer, and I will die at some point of ovarian cancer. So please don't use that as a weapon. Thank you.
Thank you, Noreen G. And then Bill Davis. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Noreen Brummel Giretto, and I think this is kind of a farce, and if you're talking about hypocrisy, Lisa, and I've known you since you were a little girl, babysat you. You took the place of somebody that ran for office. You were appointed, not elected, and you know I'm really feel angry because you know my father ran every campaign of your father's. They're best friends, and I think this is you have been against Patty. You ran a dirty campaign against her before all of this even happened, and it's very unfair. For whatever reason, it's a power struggle, vindictiveness. I don't know what it is, but I've known both of you. I've known Patty for over 35 years. I've known you a lot longer. And I've never heard, I can honestly say I've never heard her say one bad word in all that time about anybody. She has a lot of integrity. I have neighbors that said she took in cases pro bono. What a wonderful person she is. You know, this whole thing to me is very vindictive. My father, who was involved in politics for over 40 years and served on the West Valley Mission College board, besides running all kinds of campaigns here, he knew more about politics than anyone that I've ever known. And he used to say one of the most important things, what committee you're on, whether it's the school board or city council or whatever, compromise, compromise, compromise. I see no evidence of compromise here. I think it's shameful.
Thank you. Bill Davis.
I object to the whole procedure going on here. For a starter, you said, the mayor, you said that you talked to a lot of people and they all seem to follow your lead on this. I was never asked. I'm a resident of the city of Santa Clara. I know of other people out here who were never asked. I mean, you're the mayor who leads this so-called wanting to do survey after survey after survey. You spend the city's money on all these surveys. Why didn't you spend a little bit more city money on this survey? On a survey that it really marks what the residents of the city of Santa Clara really want. I feel that this is just an atrocity, and you're not even elected. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Please come forward. Good evening.
Hey, Hussam Hagag here. I've spoken on this issue before. I just wanted to bring up a couple of things. You know, 2 years ago, the charter only required a simple majority to appoint somebody for a vacancy. And I was the one on the charter review committee who actually recommended, and I argued for, and I convinced the members of our committee to change it to a supermajority. So believe me when I say that I understand that it was well within the right of council members Kolstad and Mahan to not vote for someone that night. I have no problem with that. There was something that I advocated for, and the voters eventually made that change. And the change was made to drive consensus and collaboration, never did I ever think that it would drive more divisiveness and bickering. But take a step back. For a long time, we've been talking about community engagement and wanting to get people, members of the public, involved in local politics, to be involved in their community. And when you looked at the 24-ish or so members who applied for that position, more than half of them were people who really we don't see in these chambers on a regular basis. And that's amazing. That's really amazing. We saw tonight the appointment of 2 HLC, Historical Landmark Commission, commissioners who had never been a commissioner before. That's amazing. So when you see people who step up to want to volunteer, to want to be able to serve their city, that is something that we should embrace. That is something that we should we should encourage it. We should do whatever we can to want to get people to come and serve their city. But what I object to was the manner in which the proceedings happened that night. Not that they didn't vote for somebody, but it was the way that they dragged the candidates through the mud, through 6 hours, and not making clear at the beginning of the night that they were just not going to be willing to appoint somebody. And so if I was somebody who had never been involved before, and I saw the way that people were treated that night, I would never, ever want to be involved in the future, and that's bad. So I don't think an admonishment tonight makes a difference, to be honest, but I really, really hope that we become more inclusive and that we encourage people to participate and not to drag people through the mud. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Please come forward. You can line up. I don't have any more cards. Yes, good evening.
Good evening. I'm Jeannie Mahan, and I wasn't going to say anything tonight, so I don't have anything prepared. But I do want to say that I find this very uncomfortable, very disgraceful, and very disheartening, and very sad. And I think to send Councilmember Kolstad away with this it's horrible. These people have served us well. They did nothing wrong. They were voting what they thought was correct. If I remember correctly, it was stated if somebody had risen to the top, they would have voted for that person. It just didn't happen, and they wanted to vote, let it go to the people at that point. They did nothing legally wrong according to our charter, according to any of our rules. And to be going through this process for something that was not wrong, and there was a lot of public support for putting out to a public vote, I just think it's really sad. And what happened to the days in our city when we were at least friends, acquaintances? We'd go to church together. We'd see people at church and say hello. We'd see people at the farmer's market and talk. Our kids went to school together. We have lost so much of what made us a community and what made us together. And now we're just up here fighting about because some people didn't get their way. And it's really sad to me that we've come to this in our city. And I think it's a very sad day, and it's a very sad mark on our city that we're even doing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please come forward. Good evening.
I'm Tino Silva. The great thing about having nothing to lose and not running for a seat is I can pretty much say what I want, and I don't have to worry about it. So first I will say that this is not about someone's father. This is not about cancer. This is not about your son. This is not about that. This is about 20 or so people that took a leap of faith to come into this chamber under the expectation that they were going to have a fair chance of potentially sitting in that seat. And what we did, I don't care if you get admonished or not. I really don't, because when I was campaigning, you said you didn't know that you were a lobbyist. You've been a lawyer for 35 years, and you've been on council for 20 years, and you didn't know you were a lobbyist. So I know, Patty, these things are not going to affect you. You're right. They're not going to affect you. It's like a duck, and the water's going to roll off, and you're going to keep doing what you do. And that's fine. And Pat, shame on you, because you're a better person than that. You, as leaders, have a responsibility to the public. And all you had to do was just be honest and just say, guys, I don't fundamentally believe that this is the right way to go about it. And therefore, rather than having you stand up here and put your heart and soul into this with the hope that you're going to actually be someone that can represent, you took that away from them. And all you had to do was just be honest and tell them. Because your sister said, well, after everything was all said and done, you didn't have somebody you liked. There were 24 people in here. And you're going to tell me that not one person is worthy to sit in that seat out of 24 citizens or 22 or whatever? We dropped the ball. I don't care if you're admonished. I don't care if you're censored. I really don't. Because in the whole scheme of things, it's not going to affect you one bit. You're going to put your head on the pillow and dream of Washington, and you're going to put your head on the pillow and pray that the next 2 years go by as fast as they can. But the bottom line is, guys, you didn't stand up to what we expect as a leader. You should have stood up and been honest, and we wouldn't be sitting here, and all the comments that I got would have never happened. So next time you're in this predicament, I ask you to please just be honest.
Thank you. Anyone else? It's adorable.
Started crying. Anyway, so hello, I'm Kevin Park. I was actually one of the people, who was a candidate here. And to be honest, this admonition doesn't require a supermajority, so it's probably going to happen anyway, so I'm going to talk to the people. We were found in violation of CVRA before any of these actions had taken place. And I want to say it again. Measure A wouldn't have stopped that. An appointment would not have stopped that. I'm going to give Patty and Pat kind of the benefit of the doubt. And everyone needs to know, I have no love for anyone on council, or I should say it a different way. I have equal love for everyone on council. Okay? And I'm going to say this. At some point, we need to look at I use the word pathology a lot when I talk about Santa Clara. I mean, you need to understand that. What the pathology is in this council, that A, we cannot work together, and we cannot work with other city groups, such as the CVB, or the Chamber of Commerce, which is another group that we really need. We should be talking about that instead of having this kind of hearing. I'm going to say all the people that I talked to, including Hossam, knew when we were sitting out there. In fact, I was taking bets on this. Nobody was going to take my bets because they say what's going to happen. It's going to be a draw. There's going to be no appointment. And Hossam knew that. Suds knew that. I knew that. In fact, I didn't just know that. I was betting people dinner on this. So for all the people who lost, you owe me dinner, right? But at some point, we need to look at how do we make the council better. Instead, we get these letters being sent to businesses about the Chamber of Commerce having problems and the audit's not even done yet. I think at some point, we need to look at how do we make things work? How do we fix things? Not have a political, party during an election year. This is how I see it. Oh, you want to give me your time? What? They're not going to let you get, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Thank you very much.
I'm so sorry.
Anyone else? Your chance. Okay. All right, council. A motion and a second on the floor. Anybody have comments? Please make them now. Yes, Debbie.
Is my light on? Oh.
No, I think we're going to have some comments. Please.
Put the vote up. Do we have to go through the vote first?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. It showed up on my screen.
So do you have comments?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so the reason I second this motion, this admonishment, this policy came into play because of the way that member, former, Caserta treated our residents. And that had a huge impact on what was going on during our council meetings, what was happening. And I think that what happened was a lot of people were missing the point on this. First, this is not or had not been about the Voter Rights Act. This was about an appointment to the city council. There is a reason there are 7 people sitting up here. There are possible 3-3 votes at times, and that creates an issue for policy setting. That's what we're supposed to be doing up here right now. We have been elected and serve at the pleasure of you. It does say in the charter, we have the right to appoint. And in the past, we have done that. Not me personally, but for Lisa when she became the appointed mayor, but in the past history of the city of Santa Clara. So what made it so different at this time? So I just wanted to point out, I felt it was a disrespect of the residents and the people that applied for this position. It takes a lot, it's pressure when you stand up there and have to go through a grueling 6 hours of questions. Be prepared. 2 people that came to this had to give up Ramadan, I believe that was a holy holiday for them, to be here because they wanted that position. So that bothered me. The disrespect is sheer disrespect. The other thing that I wanted to say was, they have their right to vote. Both of them have their right to vote like we do. But if you felt that strongly about not following the process, then don't vote on it and don't go through the process. You should have made it really clear, because this was posted on someone's Facebook page. The council knew they didn't have the votes. That's pretty disgusting. We knew we didn't have the votes. As Hassam told you, we voted for a supermajority for this reason, so that nobody could put their special person in there or have their agenda done. But it was clear to me on that night, it should have been stated in the very beginning, and then no games would have been played, no political, everybody thinks it's political theater or whatever these words they choose to do. I resent that. I resent being called corrupt. I resent people saying, oh, you're doing the wrong thing and you're whatever. Constantly coming up and saying this to us when our job clearly is about policy decisions. And I really hate to agree with Kevin Park on this, but yeah, this is a waste of time. We should be doing things, business for the city, and not going through this process, but it happened. We had a policy, we voted on it, and now we're going to proceed with it. So, and it's not, and people have come up here and made this personal. It's not personal. It should never be personal. It's about what we do. So I just think that people that evening, the faces, it was 1:30 in the morning, and just to look at their faces after 6 hours was very sad. Because if that was me, I probably would have been yelling and screaming that night too. Because I just thought what happened was wrong. And whether you want to admonish somebody, there's no censorship here, I agree. Whatever happens, nothing's really gonna happen. But it goes on record, they go through a process, whatever this may be. But I just want the residents to know that I supported them, I cared for what they went through, but I just want to stop the garbage that goes on, and I mean that. There's so much stuff going on in this city, the things that are written on Nextdoor, Facebook, whatever you people are using your social media, it's gotta end. It's gotta end now, because there is nothing going to be accomplished in our city for what is happening. But I don't know how this vote is gonna come out, but I just feel the true disrespect for our residents, and Hassam said it very clearly. If you came to this city and you applied for a position and you got smacked in the face that way, why in God's name would you come back and do it again? And I just think that's a sad commentary on our city, and I want it to stop. So that's why I second this motion. I would like the process to go through. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kolstad.
Thanks, Mayor. Just real briefly, I want to thank Mr. Jinkerson for stepping up to the plate and helping a guy when he needed a little advice and a little help. I want to thank former mayors and councilmen who called me and emailed me, encouraging me to stay the course, and city managers, and so many really kind, nice people that stepped up tonight and spoke out. It was very refreshing. Everyone has a constituency, and clearly those folks that were kind to me and supportive of me are my constituency. And I absolutely believe that we voted in a legal manner and conducted ourselves in a legal manner, and I'm not going to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, Councilmember O'Neill.
Thank you. I just have kind of some thoughts on listening to everything here tonight. And I mean, this is a very difficult decision. I have known, you know, and served with council members Kolstad and Mahan. And whether, you know, it unfortunately, and except when things like this come up, you know, people focus on these things, but on the vast majority of items that come before the city, we manage to vote on those and move things forward, you know, in a pretty expeditious manner. Like this evening, we came to a fairly easy consensus on 2 people to appoint to the Historic Landmarks Commission. And unfortunately, I think there's been, you know, kind of a center issue that has led to factions on the council for a number of years. And, you know, and it's manifested itself in a variety of ways. So I want people to think about that. It's not like there's constant fighting going on. There's lots of things happening. There were some comments tonight made by, including Mr. Park, about other issues in the city. And you're going to be hearing about some of that tonight, and you're going to be hearing about those issues in the coming weeks as more information comes forward. You know, we do have a lot of work to do in this city. This isn't a perfect city. It's a community made up of a lot of wonderful people. But, you know, some things have, in terms of process and procedure and how you run it and manage a city, have gotten, you know, fallen behind the times a little bit, to be honest. I tell people this is my hometown and I love it, but, you know, and a number of you have heard me say when I would have folks that work for the city make comments like about that we were very cutting edge on things. I'd say, well, no, on a lot of ways we aren't. In some ways we are, but a lot of ways we aren't. So we are working on many of those issues that will make for a better city for the community. And I also want to say, unfortunately, some of what we have seen played out here tonight is not all that unusual. I mean, I talk to people on councils, boards, commissions around the state and in other parts of the country, and sadly, a lot of the disagreement that you've seen on this issue, you'll see everywhere, and that's because people have, when it comes to a lot of times about their government, they have very strong, passionate feelings, and there can be clashes. So that is not, and actually, some of what we looked at, what's going on, you know, just our school board here in Santa Clara a few years ago was having a lot of, you know, kind of similar issues where you had at least some points where there was disagreement between the members of the board. And I think this council has continued to function at a much higher level than the school board was at that time. So it's kind of, and unfortunately, it's somewhat human nature. I would like us to all be kinder and nicer to each other all the time. And as we talk about admonishment, well, we've had a lot of admonishing going on. That night, you know, it was pointed out to me. I mean, I said some things because I was pretty angry that night. And I've had other members of this council admonish me. And, you know, we remember, admonishment is basically saying, I don't like what you did. And in a free society, and we see it from the very top, and in the top of the government of this country, we have somebody who's admonishing most of the population of this country every day. So whether, you know, unfortunately, that's a little, you know, that can be good, and that sometimes gets to be a bit much. And there was some comments made about feelings of discomfort and disgrace about this whole thing. This is uncomfortable for us. You know, we don't like to be in this position to be where you have to, in a way, you are making a judgment about somebody else's conduct or behavior. And there was, I heard the words tonight, I was writing down just phrases of things that were popping up. Be honest, be honest. And I think that's always really good advice, is to be honest. And it doesn't mean you have to be brutal or cruel or whatever, but you know, to say what you're thinking and more importantly, what you're feeling. And oftentimes when we say what we want to say and we put our, you know, we allow some of our vulnerability and say where we're coming from, people then understand a little bit better, you know, why you're saying, like, I'm admitting that I am somewhat uncomfortable with this situation. So I guess I don't think one of the comments that was made earlier on, and I think it was Councilmember Mahan about the minority being silenced. One thing I'll say, I don't think people in Santa Clara are silenced. I mean, we've heard, you know, tonight we've heard some very, very articulate people. We have articulate people on the council, on our staff, and as much, you know, to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of time to read a lot of the social media, but people are out there talking, and they come here and they let us know how they feel. So I don't think that there's an attempt to stifle. What I think about this admonishment, and I actually went and did some research and tried to find were there any other examples where something like this has happened in Santa Clara. And the only thing that I could come up with, you know, and we searched through like minutes, and it was over 20 years ago, and there was a council member who was brought up on that he had incorrectly filed FPPC reporting on a contribution. And, you know, let's face it, you know, there's been a lot of Santa Clara council people that have made mistakes on FPPC forms, and I remember when that happened, but I wasn't involved, and I believe at that time there was a censure vote on that council member. So that there is some precedence for taking some action, and at least now there is a policy on that. But I think as I struggle with this, and recognizing that people do have the right to vote as they want, I guess what I have to come back to is what I said that night, and the most important thing that people have to offer is their time, and the thought about also their willingness to expose themselves, because you know, anytime you apply for a position like this, or people who came tonight to apply for the commission, you're putting yourself in a position of being rejected, and that is a daunting feeling. And what I worry about in part was it was a waste of time, and that it was an action that perhaps would very much discourage people from putting themselves out there and being vulnerable and somewhat exposed in front of the community, as you do when you run for office, particularly a situation like this, where it's, you know, lots of people are watching, and you expose your feelings, and it's painful. It was painful for me to see the faces. And I guess maybe I'm a more naive or trusting person. I had heard some of the hesitations from Councilmember Mahan and Kolstad about the process, and so I didn't know, but I thought that night as we started, and I can't remember if one, perhaps Councilmember Kolstad voted against the process, but then when it passed with, I think, 5 votes, and everybody was participating. If they had said, no, we're not going to participate, I'm not going to rank, I'm not going to ask questions, I'm not going to do any of that, that would have said from the very beginning, let's not go ahead. And I certainly, because like I said, the thing I value most highly is people's time, because that's the one thing you don't get back in life. And I think that was, that they are certainly very senior leaders in this community, and they could have made very clear that they, because it became clear to me once when 5 different nominations were made, and the people that, by that time, these were people who had emerged from a very large pool, and there was one candidate that was slightly ranked higher than the others, and to say that none of those people rose to the standard, I thought was I thought that was being very disingenuous at that time. So as uncomfortable as this makes us all feel, unfortunately, and I mean, in part to say, like, to acknowledge what was done to the applicants, most of all, and the rest of the people who participated in that process, and for the effect that it could have on the future of people wanting to apply, and also to bring this chapter to an end and say, let's move forward. I will support the motion with regrets.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Neill. Any other council members? All right. I just wanted to say that I agree with Councilmember O'Neill, and it's important that we set a standard. When we had all those interviews and these candidates were grilled and ranked and questioned for hour upon hour upon hour, and we had 5 votes at the end. And we're talking about candidates that are our commissioners, our engineers, professional people involved in the community for so many years that any one of them could easily sit up here. And we went vote after vote after vote after vote. Finally, we stopped at 5 because it was clear there wasn't going to be a decision. And had we taken back those 6 hours, told those people there will be no decision this evening, all go home and spend time with your families, we're not going to grill you and rank you and put you through, you know, this hellish process, it would have been fine. So by not supporting this, it says that we agree with what happened, and I don't. I don't agree with what happened for those people that applied. And for all the pile of emails that Councilmember Mahan got, I got a bigger pile from people, and I still talk to people that were very upset about that because they, excuse me please, they feel, other people felt the pain of the people that were here. And if you were here that evening and saw it, I recommend everybody watch it online. It's still online. But if you could have seen the audience and the faces of the applicants and the family members that were here after being grilled over and over with all the questions with full participation and then no, then it would have been different. So I'm going to go ahead and support the motion and hope we put this behind us. It doesn't happen again, but we tell our community that we have a standard set for ourselves. So we have the motion, please. And that passes 4-1-1. All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Stadium Authority item, the informational report on the release of the interim and final arbitration awards in the stadium lease arbitration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, council members, members of the public, fellow residents, city staff, Brian Doyle, city attorney. Could we, thank you, teeing up the presentation. As painful as the last agenda item was, this is really, really good news for the city of Santa Clara. When I first came here as city attorney, I had 2 litigations that the 49ers had filed against us, against the city, and this was the biggest one of them, and that's the arbitration to reset the rent on the stadium rent. And the good news is we won, and we won resoundingly. Yeah, next slide, please. Let's see, how does this work? Okay, so in the stadium lease, there is a facility rent that was set for the 40 years of the lease at $24.5 million. This annual rent was subject to a one-time readjustment after the first year of the stadium being in business. The authority board, after some discussion with city staff and some back and forth between city staff and the 49ers, the Stadco eventually made an offer of reducing the rent from $24.5 million to $20.25 million. That figure was brought to the board to accept as the rent reduction in March of 2016. Acting unanimously, this board rejected that offer from Stadco. That triggered Stadco to call for an arbitration, which is a provision of the lease that has an independent arbitrator decide the matter of what the rent should be set at for the 40 years of the lease. Just before the arbitration started, Stadco made an additional offer, which was lower than the $20.25 million at $19.2 million. Within the arbitration, you can find this on page 33 of the arbitration award. These figures are there. Stadco made the proposal that the rent be reduced to $16.775 million per year. They also offered a model from their expert witness to reduce the rent to $12.2 million per year for the 40 years of the lease. The arbitrator mentioned that this was offered by their expert, but not proposed as the new rent. I'm not really sure exactly why it was introduced into the arbitration, but it was definitely discussed at the arbitration. Just about a month ago, the arbitrator issued a final award that reset the rent to higher than what the actual rent was in the beginning. And the new rent is now going to be for the 40 years of the lease, $24.762 million per year. The other elements that remain in the arbitration award are the true-up. The true-up is the fact that because the arbitrator changed the award to add new rent, an additional amount of rent, that those 4 years that were not paid at that level now have to be repaid to the Stadium Authority. So the terms of how the true-up will be paid is one other issue that will have to be decided by the arbitrator. And the other issue that the arbitrator still has pending before him is an attorney's fee award. The arbitrator has determined that the Stadium Authority is the prevailing party, and we do expect to be awarded the attorney's fees that we had to spend in this arbitration. I can't discuss the amounts at this point, but we'll be expecting that to come down later, maybe in a month or two. Okay, so just so everyone is clear on the math, the numbers, and everything else, this is what was at stake in the arbitration. The original rent was $24.5 million. The new rent was set at $24.762 million. This results in a 1% change in the rent on an annual basis and a 40-year difference of a net gain to the Stadium Authority in rent revenue of $10.48 million. So if we had come out even, it would have been a victory. It just so happens that we came out a little bit better than even. What was at stake for sure before we went into the award was $20.250, which was the facility rent that was proposed by Stadco at that March 2016 meeting. So as a result of rejecting that proposal by Stadco at the time, the Stadium Board gained for the city and protected the city against the loss of $170 million. So this was indeed a very, very significant litigation, arbitration that the city was in, that the Stadium Authority and the city were in, and it's very important for the public to realize that by making the decision to not accept the rent offered by Stadco in March of 2016, this Stadium Board unanimously made the right decision and did not lose the Stadium Authority $170 million in rent. At stake in the arbitration award, as set forth in the award itself on page 33, there were these various figures of $19.125 million, $16.775 million, and $12 $1,200,000. Each of these would have been far more drastic reductions than the 17% that they were initially asking for. But even before the arbitration, the Stadco was asking for approximately a 20% reduction in rent over the 40-year term of the lease. And within the arbitration, they threw a figure in of cutting the rent in half for the 40-year term of the lease. So this is a very, very significant and major win for the Stadium Authority, and I think a very positive development for the Stadium Authority. You know, I also think, you know, just to kind of put this in perspective, I think this will be a turning point in our relationship with Stadco and with Manco. I think that this gives the city administration and the stadium board a lot more credibility in our discussions with the people that are running the stadium, and I think they will take our discussions and positions very seriously from this point out, and I think they will treat us perhaps with more respect when we speak with them. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for the Stadium Authority attorney on this?
Thank you for a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd also like to mention, we had outstanding outside counsel from the firm of Hanson Bridget, and the main attorneys involved were Larry Sorelli, Mohammed Walizada, and Emily Charlie. They really, and I was at the arbitration, and I was very involved with the whole arbitration proceedings, their briefing, and they did an absolutely excellent job. And I think, I really do think that if there's some opportunity for the council and the stadium board to commend them publicly, I think that would be a great idea.
I think we should invite them in the future. They saved us hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're also assuring that we'll be able to pay the debt service and the operational costs for the stadium for the next 36 years.
And they won their own fees back.
And that's better than anything. Attorney's fees paid. Yes, so it was a long, hard-fought battle, and we hired the right people. Wonderful. Any member of the public would like to speak? You can come forward. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Patty Atherton. Good job, attorney. Good job, city. As a longtime 49er fan, as many of you know, one of the things when I read the article that Rahul had spoken about Lisa Gilmore, I was very disheartened and disappointed, and I was actually sending him a message, so if he's watching, he can hear it from me now. As a longtime 49er fan and supporter, I have to say I'm very disappointed in the comments you said. Jet and Company negotiated that deal years ago. No one forced this deal on them. I stand with Lisa Gilmore and Company. She did the right thing. 49ers are partners in my city, not the enemies. This is embarrassing.
Thank you. Anyone else? Speak, please come forward. Okay, seeing no one. Any member of the council, Stadium Authority? Seeing no one, so do we note and file this, accept the report? What do we do?
You don't have to,
we
but
don't
you
have
could
to do anything.
if you like to, but you can. This
Maybe,
is merely an
motion
informational
to accept
report.
the report, note and file.
Motion to note and file the report.
Second.
Motion second to note and file, and thank you again, Stadium Authority attorney and your outside counsel. Please register your vote. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, the next item we have is reports of members and special committees. Are there any reports from any members of the council? Special committees? Okay, seeing none. City manager, executive director report.
I'm going to ask.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm going to ask the city attorney to make his verbal report out, and then I'll pick up.
Okay, thank you.
More good news.
Keep going. We need it.
There was a second litigation. If you recall, the Manco sued the city. The previous case was Stadco triggering arbitration with the Stadium Authority. The second case was Manco suing the city over a request for documents that the council made by way of a letter back in 2015. And then there was a declaratory relief action filed against the city and against Mayor Gilmore. I'm happy to announce that that Manco has unilaterally given up. They've dismissed their case both against the Stadium Authority, and the mayor as chair of the board, and that case has been dismissed. There is still a cross complaint that the Stadium Authority filed against Manco. That was also about access to documents, and that part of the case will continue until we have successfully obtained all of the records that we require as the Stadium Authority under the lease and the management agreement. But I have also made available a copy of the notice of dismissal that is on file now with the Superior Court.
So the lawsuits are dropping like flies.
So yeah, 2 down, 1 to go.
All right, very good. That's good news. Thank you for that as well. So the next item is...
I just wanted to touch on the informational
Sorry.
memo. There's, in your packet, there is a informational memo that has a lot going on in it, and it summarizes the activities that took place during the city council recess. On the CVB side, we have vacated the chamber's space, and calls and emails are being directed to staff at the convention center. Although their staff is limited, they are taking phone calls and handling and responding to them accordingly. On the convention center item and the outstanding issue of the management agreement, given that the audit is near completion, we should get it over the final audit over the next week. I want to move the consideration of the management agreement till after the final findings are presented by our independent auditor for the council for further consideration. The Tourism Improvement District item that we brought before the recess will come back on the 28th for our ability to initiate and levy the assessment. And also we'll be bringing in action because of the integrated financial nature of how the chamber managed TID funds with CVB funds. That is also an area that needs audit, and so we'll be bringing back a funding request for the council to consider. I did include in your packet the open letter to the business community because there is a lot circulating, and I thought that we should put something in writing in terms of the council's action. And I took 2 administrative decisions during the recess that are based on council support for events already in place. One is the Art and Wine Festival for about $6,000 to sponsor the hospitality cost. And the second is Leadership Santa Clara, which the city already sponsors in the amount of about $2,000. So I just wanted to put those in the public record and review the activities that took place during recess. Thank you.
Are there questions on that, and do we just note and file that?
Motion to note and file, please. Second.
Any comments from the council? And then I have a card here, Nick Kaspar, if you'd like to come forward, please. And then anyone else who'd like to speak on this can do so after Mr. Kaspar.
Hello.
Good evening.
Nick Kaspar, Santa Clara Chamber of Commerce, registered lobbyist. So I want to just say here, there's a letter. In the past few months, the Chamber Board and staff have been working diligently with TAP International to provide all necessary information needed for TAP International to provide the most informed recommendations. As stewards of business, we understand that independent audits, financial performance are good practice as they provide the organization with information that is used to improve our business practices, which is why the Chamber conducts our independent financial audit each year. In meeting with TAP International, it was brought to the attention of Chamber management that there are several past practices in need of improvement. As I have come to learn, many of these past practices were implemented during the days of former council member Don Von Raysfield, along with former Chamber President Betty Hangs. With that said, there was several of these past practices were self-corrected by previous chamber management. There's also several areas in which we would need to improve our processes, procedures, and overall operations. As a new chamber president, I'm dedicated to improving our organization to best serve the needs of the business community and Santa Clara community at large. That said, I'd like to discuss a few areas. Convention Visitors Bureau. Santa Clara Convention Visitors Bureau was founded by the Chamber and operated by the Chamber since the early 1970s. And this has been a major economic driver, bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars each year in visitor spending to the city of Santa Clara. To add to this, the Chamber itself did not receive any funding for our operation of the Visitors Bureau for over 40 years outside of rent and cost reimbursement, but functioned for the betterment of Santa Clara. Although this division of the Chamber has brought major positive economic impact to the city of Santa Clara as residents and local community, bringing in over 85,000 room nights to the city of Santa Clara last fiscal year, looking in hindsight, there is always room for improvement, and the Santa Clara Chamber of Commerce will work tirelessly to improve our operations. Do I get 3 minutes or 2 minutes on this?
Are you almost finished? Please.
I'll skip to the end here.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead.
As we can see from recent history, the Chamber and the city will not always see eye to eye. As a Chamber of Commerce, our purpose is to be a leader in the community, developing a strong local economy, which includes advocating and fighting for business interests, because when it comes down to brass tacks, we all benefit from a thriving economy. The beauty of a democratic system is that we can agree and disagree on certain topics while keeping a professional relationship. With that said, I commend our past and current volunteer board members, with the majority being Santa Clara residents and all being Santa Clara businesses, who have dedicated their time to bettering Santa Clara. In the same breath, I would like to add that the Santa Clara Chamber of Commerce appreciates the city's leadership for dedicating their time to serving the public. We will take our recommended improvements in stride and celebrate the successes, as I'm sure the city will do the same. In the end, we all represent Santa Clara and will always have the Santa Clara business community and entire community's interests as our North Star.
Thank you, Mr. Kaspar. Anyone else? Okay, is there a motion to note and file this item? Motion second. And thank you for the report, City Manager. Please register your vote. Okay. Okay, and that's a yes from Councilmember Mahan, and that passes unanimously. It did, it worked. Thank you. Next is our tentative meeting agenda calendar. Does that need any action? No. No. Okay, so that's just for information only, which leads us to our adjournment. And tonight we have 3 adjournments. The first is for Carolyn Phyllis McGuire, mother of Cemetery Operations Manager Phil Orr. Carolyn was born on April 21st, 1925 in Oakland and was the youngest of 3 sisters. In the mid-1950s, Carolyn worked as a secretary for the United States Army in Germany and met her future husband, Ray, who was a pilot in the Air Force. Upon returning to California, Carolyn and Ray married in 1958. They had 2 children, Patty and Phil. Carolyn earned her AA from West Valley College and a BA in English from San Jose State University. She worked for 15 years at NASA Ames Research Center in Mountain View as a technical editor. Carolyn was an adventurer. She and her husband took their family across the United States multiple times in their camper and took many family trips to explore Mexico, the Baja California Peninsula, Canada, the Yukon Territory, Alaska, and Europe. Those close to her described her as a humorous, kind and selfless, and will continue to inspire those that were fortunate enough to know her. Carolyn passed away on July 26, 2018, at the age of 93. Next, we'd like to adjourn in the memory of Charlotte Dale Wooten, grandmother of Acting City Clerk Jennifer Yamaguma. Charlotte was born on July 16, 1929 in Palo Alto. She worked as a flight attendant in the 1950s and then raised her 3 children, Jan Stiggins, Lori Mittelstadt, and Jack Stromsheim, while grading English papers for the San Francisco City College and San Carlos High School. In the mid-1970s, she began her public sector career with the San Mateo County Transit District, where her daughter Jan and her granddaughter Jennifer would also go on to work. In 1978, Charlotte moved to South Lake Tahoe and became the assistant county clerk, in your genes, for El Dorado County, where she worked until she retired in 1994. Charlotte passed away on August 1st, 2018 at the age of 89, and our condolences, Jennifer, for your grandmother. And lastly, to the victims of the fires in Mariposa, Mendocino, Lake, Colusa, Glenn, Shasta, and Trinity counties. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims, the injured, and everyone who continues to be affected by the fires in Mariposa, Mendocino, Lake, Colusa, Glenn, Shasta, and Trinity counties. We offer our heartfelt condolences to the families and friends of the individuals who lost their lives during the Northern California wildfires. We also offer our heartfelt condolences to the families and friends of the brave firefighters who tragically lost their lives while battling the Northern California wildfires. Braden Varney in the Ferguson fire, Brian Hughes in the Ferguson fire, Don Ray Smith, Carr fire, Jeremy Stoke, the Carr fire, Andrew Brake, the Carr fire, and Matt Burchett in the Mendocino Complex fire. Let us please have a moment of silence in memory of the victims who lost their lives during these recent catastrophic tragedies. Meeting's adjourned.